know how I feel about this.
Okay.
Shit, I've got my password.
Yeah, I never remember. Stop broadcast. We're live.
I'm Andreas. How you going?
Andreas, Stacey.
Hey, Stacey. Hi.
Nice to meet you. Okay, Phil, sit your bottom there. Can you sit on that one there?
Be on Skype?
Yes, I think
Hello.
Oh, here he is.
He's on.
Can we just test some audio here for a second?
China.
In China.
Parker, could you do me a favour?
Yes.
Just quickly sit in that chair.
Thing is,
Perfect. And Ching's all right, we're good.
the thing is, we don't have Ching's audio.
Ah.
So Ching, we're trying to hear your audio.
Because we had to try to find the time.
He runs both YouTube channels.
Can you just give me a quick audio test? Say something.
Hi. Yeah. Okay. 1 second. Just keep talking for a few minutes.
Okay.
And you.
Yeah, I didn't finish it, but I did it a year of it. So, but I'm still interested. Yeah. And I work in sort of, architects sort of capacity. So I'm interested in time.
Oh, we've got 2 viewers. That's so exciting. How do I see the viewers?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got group chat. We've got 1 viewer.
Yeah.
I don't know how to see.
You want me to keep on talking?
Oh, you're there.
Sorry. There seems to be just a. I'm just trying to troubleshoot this. It's working from my laptop, but not from the actual audio plug.
Right.
So, but it was working before, so that's kind of the curious problem.
That'll be the last question.
Okay, so we're
tough.
getting
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. That one's nice. Like, you put the gardens on it, so.
Oh, we've got 3 viewers. Hello, people.
Yes.
Is it?
No. I did the book. I didn't get the text. I don't
Sorry.
Yeah, so it's interesting that
Yeah, this system is just not seeing any audio now.
sustainable one. There wasn't a policy on it for years, but it's back in the tram.
Oh, okay.
In the old days.
Yeah. So you
Very old.
first.
Yeah, no, I think probably the second one. I think. What Ching was it in the first lot? Do you remember he'd come back and talk to us about stuff?
Yeah.
Does Dory take us on the subject?
She did the intro to Design Anthropology lesson and stuff, and then she's left. So,
Can you try?
yeah.
What's
Yeah.
a lot?
Yeah. I mean, my background is anthropology.
It's. I can hear you through the computer, the laptop onboard speakers, but not this. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's working before now.
Yeah. One thing is, if you just speak up, it actually is okay in the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
How loud? You want me to talk like this or louder?
Yeah, around that volume. I don't like, as long as it's not too uncomfortable. That would be probably easy.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, hopefully, let me know if I'm starting to sound like, and I'll always try to keep it up, but I'm
Yeah,
borderline.
Sure. No worries though, it does not sound awkward, so don't worry about that.
Okay, no worries. My sound awkward.
Okay. Yeah. She was doing
But I only hear you when you're really close to me. Not like,
Yeah. Let me see if I can move you closer to where we're going to be.
So, yeah. No. I'm sorry. No. And
This is the period when I was trying to contact him. Let's say,
yeah, and he presented it to me as his
So Harry, there's a whole heap of they can add questions, so you can have like a live question thing, Q&A. I don't know exactly how to. How do I?
Have we got his voice on?
Have we got our voice on?
Can he hear us and we hear him?
I'm not sure. Parker's working on it, but I think these guys can hear us, and we got 3 viewers. But I don't know how to know if they know that we. So we might have to just keep an eye on this one as well. So I'll try and move it closer.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I've got it wrong. That's not what
This
he's
is
saying.
live stream.
Yeah, that's yeah. I'm waving to him, thinking he's
He's up
looking
there.
at yeah.
Hey, James. I can't actually see you on the screen, like you're behind me, but that's okay. I'm just yeah, good. Finally, we got it hooked up. Except we haven't got audio on that thing on the big screen for the room. It was working and now it's not. So, have you eaten? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Nice. Alright.
Nick.
Hey, I'm gonna try and turn off my audio.
I'll just turn off your sound as well. Alright, so the panels will be sitting all along the front there, and I think
Say something, Chief. Say something, Chief. Yes. Can't hear a word. Hang on. Hey! Oh, okay. It's working. I'm going to turn it down. Okay. Say something. Yeah, just quiet down for a second.
sorry.
It's just blasting our heads.
Is it coming through here?
Yeah.
Okay, try again. Try again.
Try now. Okay, hang on. We've just got to turn you down a little bit.
Okay.
Either that or you got to whisper.
Okay, try again at a whisper.
Try now.
Okay, it's coming down.
Okay, speak normally.
Yeah, speaking normally.
Okay, good.
Normal.
Beautiful. Ching, it's working.
Woohoo!
Can you actually hear us clearly?
Yeah, it's a little clearer now, I think.
Good. Okay.
I can only hear you, but I'm not sure about everyone else.
Okay. Can you say something to her?
Hi.
Yeah, that's better.
Phil, can you speak?
Hi, Ching.
Hi, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
This is kind of getting near us because we'll kind of be.
The microphone is more important, I think, for Ching than the camera.
Where's
Yeah, I think this is.
Where is the mic on this? Okay, so basically, Ching, you won't be able to see all of us at once. You'll be able to see some of us, unless someone sort of sits here and does this every now and again. Like, so I'm moving the chair around for you.
It's alright.
Alright, so, you know, yeah. Alright, so hang in there. Did you say you've eaten or?
No, I haven't, but, you know, are you guys supposed to start? Or?
No, we're just getting set up.
No, we're still setting up, so if you want to...
The food hasn't even arrived yet.
If you need to, you know, duck out for a little bit, you've got 20 minutes.
Okay, quick, I'm going to go shout out to Drew.
Okay, be back before 7:30 and don't change any settings or anything. Just leave it there. Make sure you take the headphones off your head before you walk away.
Hi guys, how you going?
It's good. Well done, you guys. I know that you're trying to fix the colour, I just don't know.
Politics,
Right, so there's an air conditioning button back there somewhere. Yeah, Kurt's given the instructions.
Yeah, I thought a good intro one.
Claire's on her way. It should be here by 7.
Wake up, we're having a quote to check on Twitter. Say good luck waiting for the stream.
It's out of my Twitter.
No, I don't Harry did much better. I did like one of you.
yeah, with the live stream, I'm like, oh great, I'll stay home with the kids then.
Oh, brilliant.
There's no expectation of reciprocation.
I don't because I said you guys, I asked a question on Facebook, how do I contact them on Twitter, someone. I had a conversation with them and I felt like what do you mean?
Yeah, Twitter says no expectation.
Yeah. That's good. So,
Live streaming, I'm pretty impressed with this. A little bit. I got that one. All because of Lauren. In the Hi Harry.
oh.
So, oh, they're going to miss out.
Oh, okay. It's not gonna pay.
What?
It's like my FD card. I brought the one. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, Stacey set that up. We've got Chin on the other hand. Via Skype. We're live streaming the whole thing. I've got friends of mine from work who are saying that your friend on the screen is very purple. So I was okay. Can't do anything about that.
Oh, I don't know how to check. I think I
No.
Okay.
But yeah, you always realize that it's just
Say the prompts on there.
Oh, it has gone purple.
Do we have a maximize this?
Even a little bit aggressive.
Big head.
Getting down a little more actually. Get that down to a reasonable size.
Yeah.
Sure.
If I was to empty my whole phone onto the item, like
To get into like normal size. Or normal similar size. Yeah, so make it square. Ish.
Darling.
Actually, no, give it up.
Can you get China?
Otherwise, I get to win. Is this your one? Yeah, that's mine.
Sorry? Fruit's, yeah, it's over there. Do you want my... Yeah. There you go. If you open it up.
There's snacks and foodie things over here if you want to stand around and grab some food, come and get some snack, not dinner, just food. Yeah, so we're not actually kicking off the discussion until 7:30, so this part is just mingling and eating and cracking jokes.
Which I think is a bit strange if you
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to go and deal with an email for a sec. So rather than me stuck on my phone here and link upstairs.
Right. I'm pretty sure we're mingling until 7:30.
Oh, it should only take me 10 minutes.
Cool. Sorry.
Did that air conditioning come on? Yes. So that should be on now.
Alright.
Yeah, I'm still trying. I'm still part of it. It's good, but I can't just I'm doing it. Looking at to use
Yeah, I love the shows. No, there's nothing. This is just pickle.
Really? I don't know behind the green.
No, it's true. There's absolutely nothing. You don't say you don't say to yourself,
Why would you bring it outside?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
No, big deal.
yeah, sorry.
It's waning.
So, how did it take you to set up the...
An hour. We were stuffing
Wow.
around since 6 o'clock.
What's involved?
Oh, it wasn't working. We were missing cables, we were missing connections.
Oh my goodness. Glad you were successful. It's just
I don't care. I always want to figure out something. It's not very question. Okay, that's good.
'That's good. Is that the mic? That's all. We have to project.
Can you still hear us there?
Chin, can you hear us?
Okay.
When people stop chatting up the back there, you'll be able to hear us. So we're about to start off, I think. Okay, everyone, we're going to start.
Yeah, but you're I don't think he wants to sit there. What? Oh, yeah, the same thing. I did something earlier and I just not being like, oh no. What's happening to guns? Yeah. Yeah. I like this. That one design. True. Nothing's good except it. No.
There was another design as well.
So what does that make me? I can be whatever. I'm fluid.
You can choose, right?
Yes.
What is gender?
She's
Yeah, that's something. Oh, okay.
Welcome everybody. Welcome to our Melbourne Professional Design Anthropology meetup event for tonight. And as you probably know already, it's a panel discussion. It's almost as much panel as there is audience, but hey. So what this ought to be is a bit of a dialogue. It's kind of a follow-up event to an event that was held a few weeks ago, which may have spread a little bit of confusion in the community of design anthropology. So we thought it'd be a good idea to kind of get up here and give you a better indication of what the field is about. Those of you who are interested in design anthropology will get a good view of what it is tonight.
I'm not going to go into all the sordid history, but there's been a bit of a splintering of groups, and it's a very small community, and it's actually too small for there to be two communities splintered off, in my view. And part of tonight is we may actually touch on that a little bit later or afterwards. Anyone who's interested in knowing the history of what's going on, what has sparked this event, and probably some to come as well. So tonight, really, I'm Harry. I'm a graduate from the Design Anthropology program, and we have a couple of more graduates up here and some in the audience and some online. Welcome to everybody online. So I'll start by introducing our panel members. Over at the far side we have Charmaine Jones. I should have my action notes on your bios, you guys.
Just make it up.
No, I'm not going to make it up. Bear with me one moment. I'll get the bios up.
Oh, Charmaine can speak for
Okay.
No, but you gave the bios to introduce you, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Yeah, but go ahead. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name's Charmaine, for those of you who haven't met yet. I'm an anthropologist. I've done a mixture of academic and applied anthropology in the area of social and cultural anthropology. And I'm interested in design because I'm interested in sort of the merging of practical solutions and the empirical understanding of problems. So,
I'm Claire Agnew. Sort of describe myself as a user experience designer, interaction designer, service designer. Design anthropologist is a lot easier. I completed design anthropology, what was it called again? Brad did. Recently, after taking a few years to complete it, I found it really interesting. I found it extended my understanding of design and anthropology and design research. And I'd like to talk more about that.
I'm Stacey. I'm a newbie as well with Charmaine, and I'm a communication designer and currently studying a master's program. I am from Zimbabwe, so culture was an important thing for me coming to Australia, and so I think that really triggered my interest in kind of how do I apply design and the differences in culture.
Hi, I'm Bridget. I'm channeling environmental tonight. I teach here at Swindon, and I've been teaching in the Design Anthropology program since it started. And I'm neither a designer nor an anthropologist. I'm not actually sure where I fit in. But I've just realised that I'm a player from different life, different stuff. I think
Futures thing.
Futures thing, but I also teach, so I do teach in the design school, and also in strategic foresight.
Hi everyone, I'm Parker. I'm, if you cannot already tell, from the United States. Been in Australia about a month and a half so far, and my background is sort of an interdisciplinary mix of design, language, communication design, user experience. My main interest is understanding the way we perceive the values that are presented to us. And so that sort of brings me to this community and understanding the human aspects of it.
My name's Phil. I did an undergraduate in engineering and computer science, and did a lot of work in research, technology research and innovation, and then discovered through my career a way into user experience design, and design anthropology really piqued my interest, and so now I'm a current student of the program here, about halfway through the master's program in design anthropology. And I'm currently a strategic designer at a firm called Hubbard as well.
Thanks, you guys. And we have Ching via Skype from Sydney.
Hi guys, my name is Ching. I'm an originally an industrial designer. I was one of the first graduates at Master's Design Anthropology course. So I consider myself a hybrid designer. pretty much it.
That's okay. Thank you, Chin. Thanks, everybody. So, thank you for the introductions, you guys, and we may as well just get straight into what it's all about. So I've got questions here, but feel free to ask questions as we go. Right? So that's why I say at the start it's like a dialogue. But let's warm up with some questions that I actually want to grill these guys on. All right, so when you first heard it, and you're all welcome to answer, but not all at once, preferably, but just don't just like go in turns. Let's just have a moment. So when you first heard it, right, what connotation did the phrase design anthropology have for you? Anybody?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I found this meme on the internet once that had, what does everyone think of an anthropologist? And one of the one that made me laugh was that everyone thinks it's Bones, the TV show. And that was my introduction to anthropology. So when I heard the term design anthropology, I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, like, except not the forensic aspect. So for me, design anthropology was kind of just a really in-depth, intense understanding of culture. Yeah.
And Charmaine, coming from anthropology itself, this interesting mixture attracted you by?
I was telling a friend about, a friend who is also an anthropologist, about my interest in housing and how housing design, I feel, was really designed with people in mind, necessarily human beings. And so, and the sustainability of housing as it is not particularly good. And she said, have you heard of design anthropology? And I thought immediately that it was sort of another offshoot of applied anthropology. And I think now my understanding is that it's very much intertwined together with design.
Yeah, no, that's good. This is just what attracted you to it.
Yeah.
What is it about that combination of words, that phrase, that it does, I know for myself it has a certain meaning.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meaning was to begin with, but I it's kind of evolving, right?
Yeah.
Ching, what about you?
Well, I think when I first saw Dory, she was just starting up her course, Design Anthropology, and she was doing a couple of different research methods courses at Swinburne. And I went to see some of her lectures, and I was really interested in those new methodology that I have been exposed to. And I think that was the main pull for me. And it took me during the course, like the full 1.5 years, just to even get a kind of a grasp of what it is. And I think it's constantly evolving, even from a day-to-day work. That the meaning is always constantly evolving because you're always hearing a lot of like different terminologies, user experience and service design, all these other ways of working. But I think design anthropology, it keeps on forcing you to reflect and to be able to delve into all these different types of fields quite comfortably. And that's my biggest takeaway from doing that course. And yeah.
So let's say from an outsider for a second. Parker, you're from the US. The field is a little bit older in the US than it is here. Were you familiar with it before you came here and sort of met up with us?
A bit, although I'm really impressed with your guys' enthusiasm here. It's really cool to see. My read on design anthropology, just kind of as a topic, because I don't have a formal background in it, is the exploration of subjective human experience and the subjective values and how those relate to the objects and objective worlds that we interact with, and how that gets designed to kind of fit together with subjective experience. And so I think it's just a continuous process of listening to what the human spirit and experience is about, and being able to deliver those insights to the makers of our environment to help kind of understand how to make it feel better, feel healthier.
Guys want to share on this one?
I suppose my first impressions of design anthropology are similar to what Ching was saying actually, was I sort of viewed it as a way of applying the methods of anthropology within the context of design. So for me, I thought it was more about how to do design research better, effectively. I hadn't really explored at that point in time, a deeper understanding of everything else that comes along with anthropology. It's not just about methods like ethnographic research, it's actually much more than that. So as I said, my initial impression was really just about, it's a way of basically being a better design researcher.
Would you say it's about a mindset or more about the methodology?
Oh, absolutely. Now I believe it's more about a mindset, but I came to it thinking it was more about applying methods from the world of anthropology in a design context. Yeah.
Which it is too.
It is too. That's only part of it though. But, yeah.
So Kurt Seaman is the director of this centre, the Centre for Design and Innovation here, and he was down here earlier and he used a term. His claim is that design anthropology in Australia existed way back in the 1970s, but back then it was called ethnotechnology. That's what he said, which is a term that I've not heard before. Dory, who ran this program for us and with us, calls it design anthropology because that's what it's known as in other parts of the world, in the US and even in Europe. Yeah, but thank you, guys. It's a good segue into my next question, which is, so now that you actually do know more about what it is, you recall I asked you when you first heard it, right? Now that you know more about what it is, how would you say that this field, our field, differs from, say, that of a user experience researcher? Because at glance they kind of seem similar, though I suspect that some of the people in the audience are from UX research backgrounds or work in UX research, and many people call themselves a UXer but have come to it from either psychology or something else. How do you guys think it actually compares to UX research?
So my sense is design anthropology really tries to listen for the meanings and the capacity for human meaning. And from my point of view, really good user experience is about trying to understand a more functional, behavioral process in reality and analyzing how to make that, how to reduce the friction, I guess, of the experience that you're defining and designing. But my sense is that it encapsulates and listens for less of the capacities of meaning and signification that design anthropology might include.
Do you mean resonance? Is that what you're trying? Is that related to what you're saying? What resonates with people? No. Okay.
That's like defining human meaning. I think there's a functional, like a functionalist lens versus a fulfilling lens.
Yeah, I'd say user research typically, through recent psychology, is more focused on the individual as well, and that sort of attracted me to the idea of design anthropology. And like others are saying, they thought maybe it was more like a design research is what attracted them in the first place, like Uber design research, and that's what attracted me. I heard about ethnography, I was interested in maybe doing anthropology, but I didn't want to do an undergraduate course. And what attracted me to it was the idea of examining groups, how they work together, and how technology might support groups working together, and the whole broadening of what a user group is, and finding out like some of the concepts I had heard in user research were informed by anthropology, but I really only understood that at a minimal level. So that's what I opened up for me compared to user research.
Bridget, you've been quiet.
What do you want?
Bridget's got a sore throat.
It's just what do you want?
I want to hear what you think about, the comparison between design anthropology and
Might be the reductionist.
your answer.
Might be reductionist to simply say you can compare the two. And it might not do either discipline justice. However, I think we have to look at the origins of both areas as well. So user experience grew out of a new technology as we learned to understand people's behaviour and responses and things that we did or didn't connect with in, say, a digital space or in the online world. We learned more. And we weren't looking, if we were smart about it, we were looking for tools and methods and ways of knowing that would help us create a better experience. Design anthropology probably comes from the same place, but is focused on meaning, collective meaning, shared meaning, as well as the individual meaning, the shaping of that meaning. So that probably doesn't really give you an answer.
I'm interested in people from the audience who might actually have a view on this. If anyone wants to sort of share their view on that comparison, which should not be made, but nevertheless has been made.
I'm really blind to this, like I'm just genuinely curious about design anthropology. Can you give me an example of how you use it, like
That's one of my questions.
in like in the world? Like how does it get applied? I understand UX testing, so I work in online communications.
Yeah.
So I get UX. How do you use design anthropology to move society forward, so to speak?
Only because I've only just recently been kind of come to terms with the answer to this question.
The answer.
No, the answer.
One of many answers.
But you said your.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So my personal opinion on this is I do a class called Indigenous Knowledge in the Global Design Context, I think. And part of that for me was that culture being a really important part, I think, to the collective and understanding people's groups. Part of the class, I come from Zimbabwe, which is a British colony. It has very different culture to Australia. And I found this class extremely difficult because it challenged everything that I understood of how the world was and is and interpreted and experienced. And so I think one of the things that really differs from, let's say, user experience research, which I think is really just like maybe a measured response of how people interact with things in life. But like with design anthropology, it's where somebody has to stop there and they're saying, okay, I'm not going to just measure all of this on what I know. I'm going to take time out and try and understand the whole complexity of a culture. And that's like, I mean, Aboriginal Australia, it's a huge thing, which I've just learned. And so I think part of the difference is maybe that it goes one step further, at least for me it has, where it's not just, okay, I can write a persona, I can understand that this person's going to do this because their chemicals in their brand say this, but it's more upon the history of all the things that have led to an individual believing this because of their experiences, their culture, where they live. All of that, I think, creates a really more in-depth picture. And it's not just about the user either, it's about the people who are designing. So for example, we had to design a project in response to that, I guess, allows Indigenous Australians to be the authors of, well, at least for my project anyway, the authors of communicating their story or what's important to them. And in that process, it's not me evaluating what I think people are responding or how they're responding, but really working in partnership with somebody else and trying to understand the way that they want to communicate and then how other people respond. So I don't know if that answers the question, but for me, I think
the
that
question seems to be around specific examples, and I think
Sorry, that's
to
actually
get.
my phone.
Oh, okay.
I will turn it off,
I
but
can
I want to give you.
add on another example.
Yeah. I think the examples may be a bit actually premature at this point.
Sorry, it's also just, sorry Harry, it's also just prompted me. We didn't acknowledge that earlier on traditional art.
Oh,
We do need to
that's
acknowledge
retrospective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to do that?
No, I just realised we hadn't done it. I didn't know whether it was being done. I'm not pulling it off.
Sorry.
It's all right.
So we're going to proceed.
Yeah.
So as for examples, I mean, we can have our examples now, or we can have a bit of the backstory first,
Sure.
which will, I'm pretty sure, will lead to some examples. Okay. So I've got another question or two I'm going to ask on your behalf. I want you guys to think of questions, right? This is just this group of questions that I have here is in case you don't have any. So please think of some questions to ask. Right, design thinking, that term that keeps getting, keeps coming up and unexpectedly, and in your view, guys, what does design anthropology do that design thinking does not? And again, another unfair comparison.
No, not necessarily.
This is not reductive.
Let it rip, Richard.
Because it's a comparison that gets made very frequently.
Yes.
So whereas the other might be reductionist, this is probably a question that gets asked all the time. Well, there's lots that design anthropology does that design thinking doesn't. And perhaps design thinking is expected to do those things because that's what's expected of it, because of the way it has been used, marketed, reprocessed, applied, interpreted, and
Commoditised.
yeah. The fact that it's now at the top of the hype cycle, and HBR is on its 6th version of the cover around design thinking. It's been commercialised very well, and I'm not knocking it. It has a role and a purpose. Yeah. But the depth that you really probably aspire to have in design work, if it is about the construction of meaning and the exchange of meaning, and those relationships, then design anthropology will get you there, and design thinking isn't going to crack it. But then it comes down to the practitioner as well. So the quality of the practitioner is huge. You can get the T-shirt, buy the show bag and the book, and say you're a design thinking practitioner, and there's every chance in it.
Sure is.
So I think one thing to add some specificity to design thinking is that it's very much situated in a desirable, feasible, viable context, which is grounded in a business approach. So desirable, what's humanly wanted or needed. Feasible, can we actually engineer this? And viable, does it actually make money? And that intersection of three lenses is the design thinking way forward to define this is innovative. I think design anthropology does not play by the feasible or viable requirements because its interest is fully immersed in understanding how humans are constructing meaning in their subjective experience and expressing it through objective experience. And I think that's one key difference in the disciplines.
I think the other thing I'd like to add to that is that I think design anthropology is very upfront with making sure that in designing, are we are we respecting the values of the people and the groups that we're designing for and we're designing with? And if there is something that is an ethical issue in doing this, then design anthropology takes a stance of saying, well, no, we shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't actually be designing in this way. And so there can be an opportunity, for design anthropology to actually halt the design process and actually uncover those things and saying that no, actually we are taking this the wrong way and we shouldn't be designing in this way or imposing this type of thing on a group of people.
Sorry, and I think to your point about the viability, that infamous Venn diagram, you're right. I do think that those aspects, those dimensions, can be identified by the community. So the community being brought in via design anthropology does allow for their contribution and their perspective to decide whether it is viable, feasible.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you would have heard Phil say the phrase designing with. So a big part of design anthropology is what's called co-design or participatory design. The designing with, there's as much that as it is for, designing for. So Claire, I know you're into participatory design, so let's go there.
Yeah, very much into it. Haven't really managed to apply it, so into it theoretically. And it's very much a mindset as well as a set of tools. And what I've realised recently is designing with is also a matter of practicing design with internal stakeholders as well. So I'm going, I can't practice design with external stakeholders because that's a bit too much maybe for the culture I'm working with internally, but I'm designing with people internally. And at the moment I'm really pleased that I've got the space to do that. I've got a room where I can expose my thinking, which is a big part of working collaboratively, inviting people in to contribute, and people are responding really well to that.
So when you say internal stakeholders,
Yes.
the presumption is non-designers. So you're designing with other non-designers, right? So that's the big thing.
Yeah. Project managers.
And in this way, you're putting design thinking out to business people.
The other thing that helps in this culture is that people have been exposed to design thinking and they've got a few different levels of workshops that they're running. So getting someone in a very, he usually works in a really technical space. He came into the room, saw all the sticky notes and other items, artefacts, and I saw he had a hard time getting to it around initially, and he went, "You're doing that divergent thinking." So design thinking is helping support my work.
So I don't want to ignore Ching. He looks like he's dying to say something back there. Ching, can you want to pipe in on some of that?
Yeah, I think building upon what some of the guys have said, having a mindfulness to approach a process and be able to switch and adapt just to be respectful of the culture, the people that are participants of the process. I think that's very invaluable as a design practitioner. Being aware that whether you're in a workshop or in a conversation that people are imposing values on the process is very important, and you'll get that from doing the design anthropology course. I think if we think about Dory and what she always says, design anthropology is about understanding value systems and translating those value systems into a tangible experience. So if we try to break that down of whose values are we trying to translate, and there's so many different ways of interpreting these subjective values, and design anthropology really tries to help you understand how these values relate to you as a person, and how they relate to the client and the community. And having that understanding helps you navigate that process a lot more easier, I think.
Beautiful. Thanks, Ching. So you actually mentioned that magical little phrase of Dory's, which actually I have a question around this. I want to talk about values, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people here are itching to get into the nitty gritty of methods and things like that, and how do we do what we do. And so if design anthropology is about translating human values into tangible experiences, what kinds of methods can we use to first understand those values? What are the methods? Not all of them, of course, because there's so many, but let's hear about some of the methods. Let's hear about some of the methods that we use that maybe they're not unique, of course, but they're kind of pathway to understanding values to make the tangible experiences.
Well, as part of my PhD, I was looking at the values that people held in relation to water and energy, and the methods I used to try to dig into those questions were interviews and participant observation. And the interviews varied, so at times I held them as more focus group around a particular topic and got people to contribute. Sometimes they were group interviews without that kind of clear focus, and sometimes they were one-on-one. And the participant observation, basically trying to infiltrate any area of everyday life that I could that had something to do with water. So learning about tea ceremonies, getting out onto the river with everybody that used them, so that included subsistence loggers and tourists and scientists, etc. And collecting photographs and looking at the kinds of notes people take if they're out, like a scientist, for example, or a tourist writing a postcard, and how do they describe where they are, and putting these together to understand values around water. Sorry.
Thanks, Charmaine.
I can briefly talk through a project that I worked on that focused on the methodology here, trying to uncover values. So I was working on an innovation project to invent a new beer back in the US. It is as fun as it sounds. And one way to understand the broader, since this was more of a mainstream object that we were intending to produce, we tried to catch research across certain interest groups and then synthesize. So we did focus groups and interviews with lay people, with everyday customers, guys who just drink beer 5 days a week. But we also chatted with chefs to learn the perspective of what someone from the food world thinks about how beer, the object, pairs with their own produced object, and how they thought about the value of pairing those things or potentially not pairing. We met with cicerones, people who are sort of the master craftsmen of the beer profiles and flavors, to understand where they were gathering the inspirations and sources for the new flavors, the flavor profiles that they were producing. And by taking sort of a several different slices of the society and those people looking in on what are the values around beer, it gave a little bit more of a richer understanding beyond simply doing an interview with a beer group. So that was one way to take a broader, try to understand who are the different people who are bringing values to the object that you're interested in, and try to find how the different values intersect and how you might be able to build something that, if it's the intention, appeals to several of those groups or a broader appeal.
So the understanding there is in synthesizing of your observations, your interviews, and so on.
Yeah.
It comes from that synthesis.
Yes, yes. But I think the technique specifically of trying to engage people at different points of view around a similar topic and the synthesis of those values.
Another method that we use is cultural probes, where we actually, over a period of time, have respondents engage with us and ask a series of questions, get into conversation with them about, within their own context, about things that are important to them, how they're interacting with different objects of interest, or different their different thoughts, their opinions, their values, their hopes and things they want to achieve through an ongoing conversation with them over a period of time, allowing them to give us a sense of, because it's as opposed to ethnography where you're actually able to be present and doing consistent observation, as Shamaine was talking about, the cultural probe allows you to get an insight into what is happening for the respondents without actually being there and getting engaged in a conversation. And that in-depth conversation that goes on over a period of time, be it a week or a couple of weeks or however long the inquiry goes for, allows you to really dig deep and build a sense of rapport with people and understand what really makes them tick. And then from that, it's unpacking that to understand through the process of synthesis then what is really driving those people, what's the insight that's done underlying that, how that translates to values.
Fantastic. So this is a big topic in understanding the values, right? So we're just touching the surface of it and using what methods to get at the values. Ching, in industrial design, which is your background,
Yep.
cast your mind back to when you were a practitioner of industrial design. And what do you recall of the sorts of methods you used to use, and how do they differ from some of the stuff you've learned in the past few years?
It's so different. Back in industrial design, a lot of the briefs would come from marketing. To try to drive sales, push product out.
Invent
That
something.
was their main goal. So, when you do design anthropology, I think the methods come from should be derived from the types of questions that they want to ask, and this notion of translating the meaning, whether it's said or unsaid, is what we're trying to get to. And you really have a comprehensive understanding of how a customer uses a object or a tool, and how that, not just what it does for him personally, but how it's presented in the wider community as well. That's why design anthropology is not just purely based on functional aspects of a product design. Aesthetics are also an important part of culture and how that translates values as well. So, having that comprehensive understanding of designing for a product or industrial design project is really helpful in translating those values into a design.
Thanks, Ching. So is there anyone in the audience that actually would have a question specifically around some of these research methods that have been mentioned? Maybe later. All right. So, or another question maybe. We're not hearing much. It's not really a dialogue.
I'm a bit confused about the difference between, say, measuring someone's motivation and measuring someone's value. Are they the same? Basically the same. It's like getting to behind the motivation.
Yeah, so what I have did to me is what I will use to make decisions. So how I feel about water makes me decide what brand I choose, how I consume water, which water provider I go with if I have a choice. So my motivation might not be about conserving water, it's how I see water as a role the role of water in my life, what it builds for me, my community, and the people around me. And so they're intrinsically linked, but motivation is a decision that's made by someone who's almost, or sometimes arbitrarily saying that's a motivator. But our values are the things that drive us, and that's the stuff we need to be identifying and looking for. If we can't see them, that's the stuff we need to be really uncovering. That's the biggest gap. And it's not just about design and designing. It's designing at the systems level. And if we look to the systems level and look for systems, they are constructed by the values and the behaviour of the people and cultures and communities we live in. And if we don't have to change the world, we just have to find the bit in the system that we just need. Thank you.
So where do the needs come into the system?
The beliefs, they permeate because they're held by individuals and then they're collected. Some of us can take it our beliefs. I just don't want to be. Beliefs can be held within the individual, but you can subscribe to a belief that's held by a broader community because you feel like your values are reflected, they are shared. There's the desire for belonging, the desire for feeling like you fit in or don't fit in. So you can choose to believe something because it's part of your cultural heritage or your family heritage. Someone who's voted Labour all of their life, or someone who's voted Liberal all of their life, they may not have any connection with current policies. They've always bought Morning Fresh because that's the product that their mother had in the kitchen. So those are the things that we hold as individuals that then drive other things like that. I don't really have any answers to questions. But the beliefs and values are intrinsically linked.
Could you say that values could be informed on individual, like I guess that's the question of nurture and nature, like the things that we experience around us, but also those things that are interesting. And that possibly is where the beliefs. Charmaine, you're the anthropologist.
So there's a
I see it as just a messy,
just a lovely little
it's hard to define values, really, I find, and still struggle with that a little bit to articulate.
The beliefs, values, it's to me so entwined and messy that
I give a practical example from that's been an intro to design anthropology subject. So that's a few years ago. But I was doing my research topic, coming from a technology background, was around managing personal information. So I followed that through the course and we had to look at it through different lenses, archaeology and biology and whatever. And at the end, Dory, I'm not sure, was saying, okay, so you've explored this subject matter, what does it mean as a design anthropologist? What's the contribution to the design anthropology field? So I did an awesome diagram, and basically I was thinking, well, if you've got a calendar, it's not about managing time, it's about you value being seen as reliable. So you're keeping track of time. Calendar achieves that end. If you've got task list, you want to be seen as competent, and again, it comes down to reliable, but there's values underlying why you're keeping track of that information in that way. And I had other categories. So if you understand that someone is using a calendar because they want to be seen as reliable and also they want to keep friends and all that, you design the calendar slightly differently from the existing calendar. And it'll be linked to other information, not just purely date-related information.
I might just jump in here. There is actually a famous diagram about values, and I've got it here in front of me, and I'll tell you what this anthropologist, sociologist, actually, Hofstadter, he calls it. I call it the culture onion.
Good on Hofstadter.
So in the middle, on the outer side, there are symbols, and symbols are things like our words and gestures, pictures, objects, beards, tattoos, jargon, the cars we like. Those are symbols. One layer in from that are our heroes, like Batman, Pokemon, Asterisk, the Queen,
Han Solo.
Han Solo, me, Phil. Then another layer deeper into our core value system are rituals, right? Our rituals are socially essential group activities, like going to church or going to a funeral, to the pub, having Christmas with family, that sort of thing, right? So those are our rituals. At the center are our rituals. Our values, right? A center. So evil versus good, dirty versus clean, moral, immoral. These are the things. Dissecting all of them are our cultural practices. So cultural groups have their cultural practices based on this set of things. The hardest to change, the things that we grow up with, the things that we inherit, even genetically, and the things that come with our own culture, whether it be a migrant culture, the local culture, an anti-culture or a non-culture, or a subculture, whatever it may be, are our values, and those are the unchangeables. Right? So that's how he describes it, and I find that a very almost perfect explanation.
I'll add one more idea, because I found a curious example of a startup who, as an organization, wants to establish its values. And this is sort of thinking about what values mean to the culture. And the values of things like hard work, being nice to people, there's kind of a light bulb that goes off that says, that's not really a value, that's sort of, shouldn't that be sort of standard? And I found the clear way to understand what a value is it's something that you would sacrifice for. And it's not actually a value unless it's something that you would defend and sacrifice doing something else, or choosing something else for this cultural value. So that's just another way to think about what a value is if we're going there, I guess.
In brand strategy, a value is often defined as the thing that the brand will stand up and champion.
Yeah. And sort of in the face, and especially in the face of economic penalty.
Yeah.
So a value is a thing that you would stand for, even if you're penalized for doing so. If you are in a situation where you have what you think is a value and you abandon it because of a penalty, that's not really a value.
Fantastic. Does that help a little to your question? Yeah?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I understand what values are. I was thinking more along the lines of, from a design perspective or a UX perspective, all of those things when we're testing usabilities, we are asking those questions. What are the values that are motivating you to want that product or to want to do this, whatever? And so I was trying to figure out, when you're speaking from an industry perspective, how do you differentiate usability testing that's based on motivation from the emotional motivation of someone wanting to do something, which I would say is very intertwined with values. But you're suggesting that actually design anthropology is quite distinctively different, and that is the core difference between design anthropology and typical UX testing. That's what I understood from what you're saying, is that this is the distinctive difference.
I would say a really distinctive difference for me is usability testing is focusing on usability, and what drew me into anthropology and anthropography and design research and all that is looking at what would be useful in the first place. And I think design anthropology methods and the mindset helps a bit more of that useful and where does it fit and what needs does it meet and the sensibility of that.
You could even just ask the question, what is usability? What does usability mean to the user? Because usability and the example I'll give you is the Qantas website this morning. My mum is 70, well, let's not talk about the other night. My mum is 74. She was on accessing part of the Qantas website, and what she found usable was not what I found usable. And that's not just about age and experience, it was what does usability mean to her. And it was a very different construct. And it took me 10 minutes, left what I was doing, lost my cheap airfare. That it was, but that's because usability, mine went out the window. Usability to her was actually understanding what she needed to change around her normal behaviour in order to conform to what Qantas had decided would be making their website visible. Because she really had to change the way she thinks about buying airfare.
One more really quick industry example. Harley Davidson. Yes. Okay, so Harley Davidson is one of the kind of classic brand case studies of a very culturally aligned organization, brand, product that connects with the values of their highly enthusiastic customers. They sort of think about their customer base in this like rebel, outlier kind of person, and really dug deep into all the cultural codes that go into that type of subculture, which then allowed them to think about things like creating motorbike clubs, sort of experiences that express those sorts of subculture values. That to me feels like a different activity than doing a user experience audit on maybe how that how the group planning experience actually goes. What led them to making the decision to even offer that in the first place was sort of the anthropological understanding of the cultural codes, which is, again, just feels separate from the functional sort of analysis of how to create a more frictionless experience to use.
Fantastic. Okay, we're getting close to 8:30, so I don't want to ask any more of the questions I have here, but I really want you guys, if you've thought of some questions, you have some right now, to ask them, and then we'll kind of start wrapping up. So, I mean, if you don't, I can ask more of these, but if you've got questions, let's hear them. This is the time.
To do proper design anthropology research is much larger
Then what?
Yeah, in terms of time spent for something that's very, very material and hard to quantify something like work. I get it. Stakeholder engagement. So, hey, we've spent weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Here's 3 core values that I can fit on.
Yeah, and that says a lot about the values of the people consuming research.
Well, I think to that point, so what you're doing by spending all of that time with the cultural group that if you're in a business context, I'm assuming you're going to want to address that group of people for a long time, considering you want them to be your customers for a long time. If you nail the right understanding of that group of people, that's sort of the gift that keeps on giving, because you put in the effort to actually understand that human group, and from a business's perspective, again, unless you're doing like a one-night stand with your customer, that's I guess how you would consider why it's important to make this sort of upfront investment if you're intending to create a relationship with the human group, with the objects that you produce.
Do you find particular industries this seems to have or less popular?
Design.
Yeah. Like Hebe Dragons type.
I'm using it as a UX background first before I started since they have the child that should both like the best of the both worlds. And it's not always easy to complete someone, especially with the time frame where you actually find stuff like that. But one thing that I do notice, and I actually have changed the way I've done some methods and research and stuff like that, that one thing that I do notice for a fact is like the screenshot and ways I would probably do research for a particular technology or feature or something, or take a couple of months.
and then like, all right, next door, roll it out, development work done, out. Now, it took me, for one, research for a tiny little microsite, it took me 4 months. And that was expensive, but what I actually find out from them is there's so much stuff with the value and everything comes out of it. And actually, you don't just ended up using that findings just for that particular thing. You actually ended up unlocking all of this other stuff, and you actually ended up fixing processes as well, not just trying to implement the feature. So, in some ways, then, yeah, at first it's really difficult for me to get on games to get the time and everything. But then when the findings come out, everybody was just like, well, okay, we never thought about that. What's going on? And what have you done? And what did you do? And how did you get all of this stuff? So it gets easier after a while once you actually have that one proof of evidence that you actually put a little bit of an effort, but you actually get there and you actually get to be efficient. And one thing I do notice that like before design polygon goes, all of the methods, every 3 months or so, I will end up like doing another new research, trying to implement new feature. The amount of time spent of that new feature after you implement it only lasted for a short period of time. Whereas the findings now, you don't actually only just unfold one layer of things, you actually unfolded things that you can actually then doing as a stages, as a process, to just keep on working your way out to not necessarily reaching a perfect product, but just keep on improving. And you started off with a simple, research, so yeah, I guess it's all that really helps.
People's values, sorry. I was just going to say, just leading on to your comment there, Nancy, is that people's values don't change very rapidly. Right? So having a really deep and really clear understanding of the values of the people you're designing for will then put you in a good step. Making that investment, you can then continue to design successfully to engage with those people on that really meaningful level for a long period of time. So it's a much more strategic view rather than a tactical view about how to improve the usability of this product before it goes out, which is still important, absolutely. It's good to have good usable products. But this, the understanding the values actually then questions the premise of are we building the right thing, or why are we doing this, and how is it going to create meaning and a meaningful relationship with the people we're designing for.
So we have a question at the back.
I was just going to say, did you say that design books about the values of people, how they interact with the relationship with building. You said that's more about.
I'd argue that user experience is part of brand experience.
Yeah, of course. And brand experience is much more.
Yeah.
And right, and that gives you more value in design anthropology to the whole brand experience rather than just the user experience.
I'd actually take it beyond brand and actually say it's actually strategic.
Yeah.
It's about what does your organisation stand for? What is your strategy? Rather than it just end up being a brand level. But
and much design anthropology really.
Yeah.
Not visual brand itself, but
it's a similar language group, similar vocabulary that you often hear when you're talking about brand strategy. Is what is the value in, but you're more the values of the users than the organisation.
But it does work down the stack as well, right?
Yeah,
so, I mean, we touched on participatory design before, and you can be actually through, one of the legacies, I suppose, that informs design anthropology in its current form and its practice is around that idea of participatory design and co-design, and actually, that is designing products for people but getting them involved, engaging with them at that level is still within the discipline of design anthropology. And so you are engaging with them and designing things for them and with them to affect those outcomes that are important to them.
And don't forget too, guys, a big part of the field of design anthropology is transformation in the workplace. So design anthropologists are often actually called in to assess an internal culture of a dysfunctional organisation and be participants of that and observe and assist in the transformation of a workplace for the purpose of improving their systems, which in turn have a knock-on effect. Again, the gift that keeps on giving is that the products come from such a transformed organisation benefit us, and presumably or hopefully benefit society as well. So it's the aspect of social value in a product or a service, and the Papanet triangle of limitations of biology, habitat, and mortality. And if your thing can break free of these bounds, that's when it has true social value. So brand, to me, is, whilst larger than UX, is still at a level in which DA encompasses.
I was just saying that's one facet of it. It's not just kind of a consumer business interaction. It's like every person that goes to that works for that company there's an aspect to that as well. I think when Lee Whitaker came and talked, and he was talking about the work that he did for a company, where they were looking at what would increase kind of the people that work for their company's own experience at work, but looking at their home life and working in that. And I think that's where it transcends. It's not just. It's, I guess, more holistic. Maybe could I say that?
I had a question about holisticness, but I think we're kind of out of time. Unless we've got maybe time for one more question, if anyone has one, we'll wrap up and just end there and chat. So, final question.
I have one question.
Yep.
Sorry. What do you think about this trend? Well, I don't know if it's a trend, of trying to define user experience by the individual user? So, as they sign in on their username and password, so user identity management, where then they tweak that website slightly so that the content coming to them would fit a certain profile. Do you think that's
But can you say that again? Sorry.
Do you mean audience targeting?
Personalization.
Yeah, personalising sites to match the user. I guess they probably have maybe.
There's a lot of assumptions. There's a lot of assumptions being made by that website to show somebody. And when I see sites that's personalised just for me, I wonder what I'm missing out on. That's the first thing that I wonder.
And that's kind of out of anticipatory design, but identity management and previous behaviour and tracking and all sorts of assumptions.
Well, I think smartphones and iPhone is a really interesting and sort of easy to discuss example of when Apple is now having to kind of create multiple colors and dealing with adding cases that have different colors that express personal identity. Of course, this started with people changing the background image, I guess, of the phone, but these are things that have no functional value, but purely a layer of personal meaning that helps the person who is interacting with this product probably hours each day of their lives and looking at probably some of the most meaning-rich content, messages from loved ones, photos of family. They build this really meaningful and personal attachment to this metal glass device because it's personalizing it. If they were walking around with a thing that they couldn't change the background of, I'm pretty certain they would have a harder, there would just be more distance to the product. And so Apple, as a strategic design organization, is purposefully making that product more personalizable for the user so that it can allow for a greater level of meaning and attachment, and of course, sales.
All right, one more. Last one, because then there's some announcements that need to be made, right? So, last question.
So, it's just, I guess every designer is going to create their own policy. Would you say that
Depends on its relative value to you.
it's thinking because we talk about the background and color, there's an actual function. Through that form,
Yeah, yeah. So it's so it's kind of come down to individual.
Sounds like a yes to me. All right. Thanks, everybody.
That's an assumption by the people sitting up there.
All right. So let's finish up the actual question time thingy, and thank you everybody for listening and asking your wonderful questions. Tonight we're launching a Twitter handle. Stacey, can you inform our audience about this?
Yes, I can. I'm not Twitter savvy, but I'll try. So we have a Twitter handle which a few people utilise. It is capital D. Oh, hold on. Yeah, capital D, capital A _ Melb. Just
MELB.
yeah. And I don't have a video.
And that's all lowercase?
Yes.
So capital D, capital A _ Melb, and that's this group's official Twitter thingy, and we'll announce things on there. We'll put information and articles and interesting links. So follow Catherine at her.
And I've set up a list for Design Anthropology and Twitter account. That's really collecting people.
Yes.
Some of you may have noticed, so this is like housekeeping now and finishing up, and I'm freezing, and there's a button that I haven't pushed.
I did push it.
Can you push it?
It's on. No, it's on.
Okay, so maybe it's not cool. So, some of you may have noticed there are two meetup groups with almost identical names. Design Anthropology Melbourne, I'm not going to go into the sordid details, don't worry, and this one, Melbourne Professional Design Anthropology. Why do we have two? As I said at the start, there was a little fracture, some political things happened. It's kind of, yeah. So, to avoid confusion, one of the two groups, not our one, has big red stroke through it, and I urge you to investigate and look at, what's been promoted, the events we each hold, and so on, and draw your own conclusions from this. This is the group that has the Design Anthros in it. Simple as that.
Okay.
No, it's because we've heard that there's confusion in the community, in Melbourne's design community, about this very topic. So it would be remiss of me not to actually mention it tonight.
This has an official industry of design anthropology backing.
As I said, it starts a tiny community of design anthros inside a much larger and vibrant and very, active design community in general in Melbourne. And I don't think that there's, that's all that needs to be said about that. That's quite a bit.
No more questions?
No more questions.
Not even the whole support?
No, that's a big one. There's tons of food still at the back that we need to finish. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Ching.
I see ya.
Thanks, Jane.
Water. I didn't realise it had water behind it. This is one of Fine. Thanks for coming. Well done. Both history class. History class. Oh yeah. Bye.